What's happening, guys? We're back and hopefully better than ever because this time I don't have ice cream sandwich all over my face. But don't worry, by the end of that video, it's all gone. I got her. An exchange as old as time. You want obscure cards to play with. I want more of these obscure cards to be played with. Shake my hand. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into it. We're gonna start things off with Seeds of Innocence, being a 1 and 2 green sorcery that destroys all artifacts, then every player gains life equal to the CMC of the artifacts they destroyed. You got a soul ring, you gain 1 life. You also had an arcane signet, you're gonna gain 3 life. You also had a commander sphere, you're gonna gain 6 life. And that's as far as my examples go, because I know math isn't your strong suit. Not a bad board wipe at all, because there are a ton of artifacts in the game now, especially with like clue, treasure, and food tokens floating around. 2, if your deck already cares about life gain, like Frodo and Sam or Bilbo Birthday Celebrant, you probably won't care once it gets to mid to late game to play this, blow up a bunch of problem artifacts on the opponent's board, blow up some of your mana rocks you run in the deck, gain a bunch of life from those mana rocks, trigger all your life gain stuff. Seems pretty good. Is it the best artifact board wipe in the world? No, I'd probably prefer Bane of Progress, but I'm more of a creature player. Now, I could give you the pompous movie critic version of the explanation of why this is good and be like, no, you actually don't understand. Seeds of Innocence is a good board wipe because it subverts the expectations of what a board wipe should be. But I just think it's a cool card. Same goes for Xander's Pact, being a 4 and 2 black sorcery with Casualty 2. I love Casualty, by the way. I really want this to make a return because I think it's a very strong mechanic. I think they could have done a little bit more than they did with it. I would love to see some more like white and green casualty cards. Just make the casualty more like sentimental if it's white or green, you know what I mean? Like a sad loss instead of someone getting gunned down in a back alley of Capenna. Xander's Pact is 4 and 2 black for a sorcery, Casualty 2. Each opponent exiles the top card of their library. You may cast spells from among those cards this turn. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. Now, I love this in Grahatia, dude. Grahatia, dude. It's so good because she's just spitting out little XX bodies with 1/1 counters on them equal to spell mana cost, and she also causes you to lose life, which you might think is a downside since you have to pay life with Xander's Pact. No. Those decks run a lot of ways to keep your life up so you can keep activating Graha over and over again. So those built-in mechanics that deck runs anyway to prevent its commander from draining itself too much will actually help in Xander's Pact's case. Also, you're making tons of tokens in that deck, so the Casualty 2, very easy to do. It's just like an immediate Atali Primal Storm in black, which I think is pretty good, and it also has the potential to be copied, which I think is great. Maybe if you're in like a Kess Dissident Mage token deck, that could be kind of cool. If you're just in a straight-up deck about stealing stuff, that kind of goes without saying. Let's move on to Wall of Nets, though, being a 1 and 2 white 0/7. At the beginning of combat, remove from the game all creatures blocked by Wall of Nets. If Wall of Nets leaves play, return all the creatures that were exiled with it back into play. Now, I like this, and let me tell you why, because I see why people wouldn't like it, because it's like if someone gets rid of the wall, all their stuff comes back. Sure. You're probably going to run it in a deck like Arcades or like Felithar the Steadfast, and those decks run a lot of protection or counter spells, so I feel like you'd be able to protect your Wall of Nets a lot of the time, but even past that, a Pillow Fort deck, honestly, because a 0/7, not a lot's going to get through that, and then it exiling stuff, not a lot's going to want to swing into that. But if their response to that is sorcery speed, like a board wipe or just sorcery speed removal, then their stuff will enter and still have summoning sickness, so it's still going to promote that game plan of not being swung at as much. Not a super high power card, just a card I'd never seen before, and it seems like it has a pretty unique, cool effect, so there you go. Moving on to Territory Forge. This 4 and a red artifact will exile target artifact or land when it enters, and it also has all the activated abilities of the artifact or land. This is cool. Any card that like copies an effect, copies a creature, copies an artifact, does anything like that will just only get better as Magic goes on, because we're going to get stronger and stronger artifacts, we're going to get stronger and stronger lands, and inevitably we're going to get more and more of those being seen played in casual. So a card like this will just get better and better. A thing to note here is you can blow up artifact creatures with this thing and get all their activated abilities, so if your opponent's running, I don't know, Brea Keaton, you can go ahead and just blow that up and then have your own little version of Brea built into this thing. Also, if you hit a land like Bojeju who shelters all, you're not feeling too bad about that one. Speaking of lands, let's talk about Secluded Starforge, and you might say, Nick, sound the alarms. I'm done with rules. I'm done with rules. If a card just has an air of being underplayed in my eyes, it's making it on the list, all right? I still think 18k is not enough decks for this. Secluded Starforge is a land that enters untapped and taps for a waste. You can pay 2 and tap it, tap X untapped artifacts you control. Target creature gets +X/+O until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. Pay 5 and tap it, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. The only thing I can think of is like, maybe casual players don't take their decks seriously enough to be making deck lists of them online, so maybe that's why these numbers are kind of low, because this rocks in casual. A huge buff for a creature if your deck makes a lot of tokens. Oh, I don't know. What about like Jolene the Plunder Queen? You're running that deck? Making a bunch of treasures? I'm just gonna tap all these treasures to give Jolene a plus like 12 plus 0 buff and just bash your face with my Rogue's Passage. Sorry. And then past that just becomes a mana dump land where you can just start making 2/2s that are not only 2/2s, by the way, they are artifacts. This is definitely gonna go in my, let me look up that girl's name because I'm definitely not gonna remember it, Ravesvelger deck. From our last video, if you want to check that out, it's right up here. Not gonna force you, because that deck's all about making creatures evasive and playing a bunch of artifacts. So if we can tap a bunch of artifacts to give a creature plus X plus O and then use our commander to give it unblockable. Hey, you heard of Burning Tree Emissary? What about its cousin, Burning Tree Shaman? Being 1, a red and a green for a 3/4. Whenever a player activates an ability that isn't a mana ability, Burning Tree Shaman deals 1 damage to that player. 1 more mana than Immolation Shaman for the same effect, but with a 3/4 body. I think I'll take that in certain decks. Like, oh, I don't know, Yurlock, where you're just trying to group slug the table, ping people for damage. This fits that theme perfectly, as well as Yurlock's mana ability that floats mana for everybody is a perfect amount of mana for you to play Burning Tree Shaman. Let's talk about another land. That's right, we got 2 lands on this list. Novijen, Heart of Progress, is a land that taps for a waste, enters untapped. You can pay a green and a blue, tap it, put a 1/1 counter on each creature that entered the battlefield this turn. Again, 18k for this seems a bit unacceptable in my eyes. If you are in Simic and you are going wide at all or playing any amount of like more than a handful of creatures on your turns, this is nuts. You just drop an Avenger as Zendikar and then you're like, hey, I'll just tap another 2 on mana on top of that. Sure, that's 9 mana to do or whatever, but that's casual, all right? We're playing the cash over here. And even just in a 1/1 counter deck, this might even be worth playing still, because paying an extra 2 mana for your stuff to just enter with 1/1 counters, still not terrible. There's the green land that does this, but it only does it for green creatures and it enters tapped, so seems very good. Our quickest entry today is Roar of the Crowd, being a 3 and a red sorcery. Choose a creature type. Roar of the Crowd deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of permanents. Not a lot to say here. You in a tribal deck? You should probably check this out as a potential ender. Riff, help me, Riff! You want to talk about some more gross Simic cards? Incubation and Incongruity. Incubation is a hybrid Simic for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a creature card from them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And Incongruity is a 1 green and a blue instant. Exile target creature. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token. Honestly, very good. We get a 1-drop that just can like fix our hand and get us what we need. And we also get a 3-drop Pongify that exiles. Am I missing something here? This card's like awesome at any point in the game. You get this in your opener, cool. You got a way to fix your hand or remove a problem. You get this when you don't need removal at all and it's late game and you need something else. Go ahead and dig for something else with its incubation side. It's actually like super good. Now going from super good to not terrible, we've got the Interdisciplinary mascot, being a 6 and 2 blue 5/5 convoke ward 3. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 into the old hand, rest on the bottom, random order. You know how these things go. So a potential 2-drop 5/5 ward 3, that's not bad. The fact that it only gets you 1 card, I feel like they could have made this grab you 2 cards and it would be way more playable. Still not terrible. I like this if you're in a blink deck that's based around tokens. So if you're in like a Rune of the Hidden Realm deck where you're trying to blink stuff like Avenger or Zendikar, I think this is pretty good just because it'll help you dig some cards out of the top 4 of your deck. It's also blinkable, and with the tokens, it'll probably come out for 2 mana. Again, not fantastic, but interesting enough to warrant talking about it. Moving on to Chaosphere, being a 2 and a red enchant world. Creatures with flying cannot block creatures without flying. No swooping down today. And also, creatures without flying can block creatures with flying. And you just gave all your creatures moon boots. Now, where does this card go? I have no fucking idea. To our final card of the day, baby. Embalmer's Tools. Embalmer's Tools. Embalmer's Tools. 2 for an artifact. Activated abilities of creature cards in your graveyard cost 1 less to activate. Tap an untapped zombie you control. Target player puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If your deck embalms, if your deck unearths or escapes, this is a card for you. Especially since a ton of graveyard interaction cards are zombies. like Stitcher Supplier, or cards like Taval's Judgment making zombies for us, which interacts with the tap a zombie millicard thing. So a commander like Cedrus the Trader King would be a perfect fit for this, or something like Sidisi Brood Tyrant, both caring about graveyards while also being zombies or making zombies. But again, if you're leaning into Embalm, Unearth, or Escape, you probably already know about this card, but 6.6k decks, maybe you don't. I'm gonna show it to you still. That's my takeaway from this. And your takeaway from this should be to like, comment, subscribe. If you want to throw me a buck over on Patreon and YouTube members, that would be an immense help. If you want to check out some of the other videos on the channel, go for it. Come check out the channel on Friday nights around 8 p.m. We're doing Friday night deck reviews, and if you want to be a part of those deck reviews, again, check out the YouTube members or the Patreon page. Thank you guys for checking out the video. Huge shout out to all the names you see on screen as they help keep the lights on. I'll see you guys Friday. Peace.